Today's project is this cute little Santa. He's standing in the snow. He could sit in your dollhouse, on the table, or on the fireplace. So let's get started. We need some little stars. You one star for each Santa, and I forgot to leave one not painted. They come in a package like this. These are 1-inch size by 3/16. It's a perfect size for this. You also need a piece of wood to use as your base. Now this is a skinny stick, a craft stick or a popsicle stick would work, a piece of basswood. You want to cut it down to about 1 inch long, and it needs to be at least as wide as your star is thick. And next we need some paints. Now I'm going to put a little bit out on this paper plate today. We need some red paint, and I've got bright red. We need, and you'll have to let each color of paint dry in between, so I've got extra stars started here so I can show you. And we'll need some black. We'll need some flesh, and it just happens my flesh tone is called Santa's Flesh. Seemed like a good color for Santa. Won't need very much of it. And we'll need some white. And later, at the very end, we'll need some gold, but I won't put that out yet. And we'll need wet wipes. Always have wet wipes close by. So the first thing you need to do is paint your star completely with red paint. So get him all painted. I missed a spot there. I like ceramic coat paints better because I find they cover better and I don't have to go back and fix them as much. So we'll set that paintbrush aside. And next I use the black. For the black I want a little bit smaller brush. You're just going to dip into the black. And I just painted the very fronts of the star. I didn't paint on the sides. I thought it looked cuter that way. And you need to do that. And then I'm using a dental pick for the next step. I love these dental picks. They're really handy to use. And you dip it in the paint, and right where the star comes in, here you've got two that we've now painted black for the boots. Oops. And then we've got this little part where it comes, it's kind of his little waist. We're going to paint his belt. And I did it this way. I did one side and try and go straight. You can always neaten it up if you need to with some red paint. Okay, wipe off the dental pick. Be sure you wash your brushes out really well right away. Next, I've got this one that does not have the belt painted. Somehow I missed the belt on him. I'll paint his belt again. There, that's better. And now we need another small brush. We're going to go into that flesh tone paint. And these two that are going to be his hands, I want you to paint the ends of those. And sometimes I need a second coat on the flesh because it is a lot lighter than the red. And then we need to paint below where his hat will be. So if I get my fingers out of the way so you can actually see what I'm doing. And kind of his whole face and his beard area. We don't need to undercoat his beard with white. We can undercoat it with flesh, it's fine. Alright, and then this needs to dry. And again, you need to wash your paintbrushes out. Next, and I've got one here that's all dry. Now we need this dental pick again and our white paint. And we are going to go along the top of his boots. Just make a little line of white paint for his, you know how Santa's suit always has a little white band of fur on it. Do the same thing where his suit meets his arms. And again at the top of his face for his hat. Right. While you've got the white paint out, you need to take your stick, your little base, whatever you're using for your base, and use a brush, and this one looks like it needs another coat too, it's not quite white enough, and get a good coat of white paint on your base and set those aside again to dry, because those need to be completely dry. You need that paint to dry all the way between steps, otherwise we'll just make a mess. Next we need a dry Santa. Here's my Santa that's all dry. And I've got this decorative snow. It's sold near the craft paints in my craft store. And there's different brands, and each brand is a little different in texture. This is a little coarse. I would much rather have something that's got a finer texture to it, but it's okay. Now, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can get some out on the end of just a skinny tool. And I'm going to kind of pat it on. I don't want big lumps here. I'm just making his beard look a little fluffy. Kind of fill in the bottom of his face area. And it's up to you to decide how far out Santa's beard comes. Be sure to wipe your tool off because you don't want that to dry on it. Then take your dental pick again, that's all clean. And wherever you drew your lines, like here where the hat fur is, you're just looking for a light texture. You don't need much. I don't know how much the texture shows up on the camera, but it looks really cool when it's dried. And then again at the bottom. And kind of between the bigger lumps of stuff there's in this container, there's smaller lumps. Then, on the very top of your Santa, on the top of that hat, take a glob and put a glob of, big glob won't stick, but kind of glob on some, at least a little bit bigger piece, and lay this aside to dry. Now I like to put a small amount of the snow on the white base, just on the top, and then after Santa is glued on, we'll add more. So we'll kind of work this around. And let that dry. And that stuff does need to dry for longer than paint. I think overnight is really recommended on the container. Now we take our Santa. We're going to get our paint back out. And for this you don't even need your palette because you're just using little tiny bits. We're going to paint his face. So just take the lid off and touch your dental pick in. Just get the very tip and do 2 little dots for his eyes and wipe it off. And do another little dot, red dot for his mouth, wherever you want his mouth. And his face will come out with a different expression depending on where you put his features. Since he's all the way dry, we're going to take one of these boards. This is another little board I painted some snow onto. The palette back out. Now you need your fast grab tacky glue again. It's my favorite glue. It's nice and thick. It holds things. And just have help Santa to step into the glue. You want the bottom of that star where his feet, where his boots are painted on, to be pretty well coated in glue. And then just stand him on there. Oops, and have him standing upright. You kind of have to fiddle with him, get him in there between the snow. And when he's dry, you can add another coat of snow. This has had at least 2 coats of snow. And then I just took this tool again and the gold paint, and I just put a dot on for his belt buckle. That's how simple Santa is. So I hope you have fun with this. Remember, comment, rate, and subscribe. If you have any requests, be sure to tell me. I'd love to do what you want to see. Have fun with the project, and if you make it, send me a picture. I want to see how you do. Talk to you later. Bye.